as well.
Ooh, well, these are new. Just a little touch on the.
Yeah,
Blue
super
light?
fancy, right? Just
Right
oh,
there.
yep, right there. That's it.
Oh, you got green.
All different.
They're all different colors.
We're live, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. All right, we're going to get started. This is the Painesville Township Board of Zoning Appeals. We're going to call this meeting to order. And like we do with every meeting, I'd ask people to stand and we recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. I'm going to ask our secretary if she'll do the roll call of the members.
Okay, Dave Anzera,
Here.
Dale Lewis,
Here.
Ken,
Here.
Dave Lindros, who's absent. Oop, Randy, I forgot about you. Randy.
Here.
And Chairman.
Here. Let the record show that there are 5 people present. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to our legal person, Mandy, here, and she's going to talk to you about how, when you come up to testify, she will swear you in at that time and why she needs to do that.
For these matters, everything that you are going to be saying to the board, you're expected to tell the truth. So you're gonna take an oath that you are telling the truth, because people can appeal these matters to a court, and transcripts would be produced that the court would use as evidence in determining legal matters.
Okay? All right, thank you. So right now, Rachel, if you would read case 2024-007-BZA, please.
Okay, applicant Skillman Thomas A. and Michelle T. submitted a variance application for property located at 181 Stratford Road. The request is to allow construction of a 36-foot by 48-foot workshop, bringing the total square footage of accessory structures on the property to 1,928 square feet in violation of section 14.02C4, which requires that the total square footage of all accessory structures shall not exceed 900 square feet, which is 50% of the total square footage of living space of the main building.
Okay, I find no error in our zoning inspector requiring a variance for this. At this time, I'm going to ask if there's someone to speak in favor of this application. That would be you? All right, if you want to come forward and be sworn.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And could you start by stating your name and your address?
Thomas Skillman, 181 Stratford, Painesville, Ohio.
Okay, go ahead. Tell us what you want to do.
So the purpose of what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to build the shed, or I'm sorry, workshop. I've got, between my son and I, we've got 4 classic cars that we work on, and we're working towards restoring and such. We do car shows, things like that. I've got a variety of welding projects that I do at home, wood projects I do, and with I've worked for the last 15 years within the confines of the attached garage, and I'm out of that space. I have no room for doing anything. I have no room to put the cars. I got 1 car in the garage, and you know, for me to work on it, I got to push it half out of the garage to be able to have space to work around it and whatnot. I'm looking to do, you know, the larger building to be able to house the vehicles. I've got 4-wheelers that I'm not able to put into a garage or anywhere, so they sit outside. I got covers on them. And so I'm looking to try to condense and bring everything in under the roof. There's a shed out back that's been there, I don't even know, 20 plus years. It was there. It's on a concrete slab. It's a really well-built shed. That's for all the lawn equipment, all the lawn implements and everything to maintain the property. The property is 1.69 acres. And the house is 2,400 square foot. And I'm looking to do, you know, the minimum is 5 feet off the property line. The way I have things measured out right now, I'm approximately 14 feet off the property line with it, and about 60 feet back from the house. So it's a little bit different than the picture I initially submitted. So I'm kind of able to move things a little bit as necessary. I think I put 10 feet off the property line. But so basically, I'm trying to get everything under a roof, have a workshop that I can work in, that my son and I can work on our cars in, have the storage space for the parts and tools and everything. He's working as a young mechanic up at Classic, so between the toolboxes and stuff that I've accumulated over 40 years of working on cars, professionally and hobby wise, there's a small assortment of tools and whatnot that I've accumulated. And like I said, the attached 2-car garage is just not enough space. Constantly rearranging everything to be able to accommodate trying to do anything.
Is the shed that's there, is that 200 square feet?
Approximately. Off the top of my head, I don't know the exact square footage.
I'm just doing the math of what
it's
you're
approximately
asking for
200.
and what your total is.
Is there why there's a discrepancy between his proposal?
That's what I'm assuming, yeah, because the 36 by 48 comes out to about 200 feet less than this total.
Yeah, the 36 by 48, if I remember correctly, was like 1740 square foot.
48.
1740,
1728.
28. Okay.
Yeah, so there's 200 square foot that must be that shed.
Yeah, that would be approximately correct. And like I said, the house is 2,400. So even at 900, 900 is less than 50% of the house.
I apologize, just to clarify, we only calculate the ground floor area of livable square footage. That's why.
Okay, so total living space was not what was calculated. Okay,
No, total living space on the ground floor, I apologize.
copy that.
Okay.
So, I mean, I got some pictures from a couple of the companies that I'm looking at for the style of buildings.
Can we see those?
You're looking for 12-foot height too as well.
12-foot walls, yes.
You're gonna put lifts in there?
I would like to put a lift in. I did a rendering, just kind of my own, to show kind of what I'm looking at doing with an 18-foot wide.
Is this a
front
steel building or a wood building?
door. I'm kind of on the fence on that, yeah, I've been looking at both. These are wood frame buildings with a steel outside. This is a steel building company here. That one's more appropriate than this picture, so.
Do you
This is
know-
design.
Do you know how high the peak would be if you're going
It's
12?
approximately 19 feet.
How does that measure up with your house?
It's below my roof line.
Or-
Like I said, I got a 2-story colonial, and that's below my roof line.
Yeah, if anybody in the audience, yeah, you can come take a look at it, the pictures if you'd like.
Now, this brochure's got a variety of samples in it that they do.
Of course, our major concern as a board here, this is a residential lot.
Right.
And, to me, that looks more industrial than residential. That's more pleasing, but, we wanna hear from you, anyone else that's in favor of this, and if there's anybody opposed to it.
I mean, in the course of it, I'm gonna do landscaping around it and, shrubs and make it look nice and make it look presentable, so it doesn't, because I don't want it to have that industrial look. I'm gonna do it in color to match the house. The house has got white siding on it, I'll do white siding on the shop
Mhm.
to keep it cosmetically the same.
Where on, this drawing we have in our package, is the blue dot, is that where he's proposing to put
It's a
this?
little square outline.
I
behind the
assume it's this
driveway.
one here on the end of the drive.
Yeah, that would be it.
Are you planning to extend the driveway then as well?
Yeah, the driveway,
Oh, okay,
ends
the
at
black-
the driveway ends at the back of the house, and then it's a gravel area back there.
Uh-huh.
And I'll extend that gravel back and make a driveway out of that, more of a driveway for it.
What
all
all,
screened
what all is in the
by
back of your lot?
What's that?
What all is in the back of your lot? I pulled in your driveway today, but I couldn't see back very far.
There is, like here is where the other the shed is, the big shed.
Right here.
Now, there was a chicken coop back here, and there was a small 8x8 shed, which I'll get rid of that. And
We're
Oh,
talking
there we
about
are.
right here for the building, correct?
Yeah, okay.
Perfect.
yes, in that, like I said, about 60 feet back from the house is what I've measured out to be.
Did y'all, all the neighbors or whoever else is here did you all understand that? Because we have maps and I don't know if you have the same idea.
We'll let him finish and then we'll get to other people here.
I went around to each of the neighbors that were available at the time, and everybody that I talked to had no problems with it.
Well, those are all the signatures that are in
Correct.
your packet.
I wrote a description on the paperwork, and then when I talked to them, I explained what I was doing and answered any questions that they may have had. And none of the neighbors had any problems that were, like I said, that I talked to everyone that was available at that time.
Okay.
The one neighbor was out of town. He came back. I talked to him the other day.
Is that Mr. Buckman?
Yes. And he was in favor. He had no issues and no problems with it.
He used to sit on this board.
Yes, he did make mention of that. I was familiar with that.
Okay. Anything else?
The only other question I guess I have doesn't really have a whole lot of relevance to why we're here. I was just curious why Michelle's name was on the paperwork.
I don't know.
I was worried about that. So our information is pulled from the auditor's website, and I'm assuming either,
I know she's no longer on
yeah,
the
she's
deed.
no longer on it. But apparently ours is
Okay.
updated. I apologize.
It's okay. I saw that and sorry.
Is that a legal problem with that being removed?
I mean, the actual variance that was submitted was just under his name,
Correct.
so it should not be a
Okay.
problem.
So
Anything else?
I don't think so.
Does anyone
I'm open-
else have questions?
Any questions? Anything I can explain further?
For Mr. Anyone else?
The question, so is it your intention that if we were to grant the variance, you would leave the existing shed there?
I would like to, yes, for the yard implements, the tractor and stuff that I have for that. I would like to leave that if at all possible.
Where's the other one? You said there was another one in the back of the property somewhere?
About where the arrow is there, there's one kind of tucked and hidden in the trees. That's, like I said, it's been there. I've been there 15 years and it was a well-established
What's in there?
tractors, the yard vacuum, shovels, everything for the yard.
That's assuming 20 by 20, and you said there might be
It's-
another 8-foot one.
It's
back
16.
further.
It's 16 by 18. Is that shed? Is 16
That's the
by
one that
16?
you can see from the south side, or the north side looking
Yeah,
down.
if you look down the back, you can catch it. It's kind of tucked in the trees, but it's.
But did you
there.
mention there was another one further back, maybe an 8-foot shed?
There's where the blue is at, kind of along the right side.
Yeah.
There is one there that I will be disassembling and getting rid of.
Okay.
That one will go away. That serves no purpose at this point.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, thank you. Is there anyone else to speak in favor of the request? Yes, sir, if you want to just come forward and state your name for the record, be sworn.
Hi, Chris Capstick, 210 Stratford Road.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? to the
Sure.
board?
I've been here 12 years and I have a big barn in my backyard. And
Are you across the street?
Yep. I went through the same thing 12 years ago. I had an existing 20 by 32. I put a 20 by 40 on the front of it. My peak was 19 feet. My house was 17 feet, so I had to go through all of this. Everybody on our street has an extra building outside, and there's probably 40% of us that have other cars, other hobbies that we need an extra room for it. So I have nothing against what Tom's trying to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else to speak in favor? Anyone against or like to make a comment?
I'm a guest.
All right, if you would come,
I speak in favor of. My name is Tony Balsar. I live at 350 Barrington, right around the corner. And
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to this board?
yes, I do. And I have basically the same thing as Chris. You know, there are plenty of other outbuildings in our neighborhood. I personally had one behind my house as well. I put up 2 years ago. So I don't see any reason why it should be any different for him as well. There's either houses with multiple garages or with a separate outbuilding as well. So it's going to be far
Okay.
enough back from the street. It's not gonna be an eyesore. So
all right, thank you. Just so everybody in the audience knows, our zoning resolution is written for a normal residential lot, like an acre or something, or 3/4 of an acre.
Less than that, even if we're at maybe a quarter of an acre, so the 875 square feet is applicable to those that have, I think it's 14,000 square feet.
Okay,
So 875 is applicable to those and anyone else within the R1 district that falls within it. We don't really have at this time a mechanism within our zoning code which permits an increase in size based on an
Size of
increase
lot.
in property.
so basically what we're looking at here is, it's based on the smaller lots. This is an excessive variance. It's more than 100% of what you are allowed. You're allowed 900, and you're looking for 1928. But then on the other hand, you've got a lot that's probably 3 times the size of a normal residential lot. So this is why the board has to consider everything. Okay. So, ma'am, if you would like to step forward and state your name and be sworn.
I also have a handout. Would you like
Sure.
my handout?
Thank you.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in this board?
I do.
And could you state your name and address, please?
My name is Roseanne Colleran, and I'm one of the owners of 201 Stratford Road, next door to Tom Skillman. My father, Donald Dinezza, lives there. My parents built that house in 1968. My sisters and I were raised there. And like I said, my dad and I are co-trustees of the house. So I'm here in opposition to Mr. Skillman's request for a variance based on the size. Like you said earlier, it's more than 1,000 square feet over what's allowed, and it's almost the size of the house he owns, footprint-wise. It covers a lot of the ground, and so when I see the zoning code, he's limited to 900 square feet, and I did a little chart in the back where I did the calculation myself of he has a 288 square foot shed on the auditor page that leaves him with 612 square feet to build a garage. He's proposing 1728, so he's almost 300% over what he's allowed, almost three times what he's allowed to build. He also, he had said too, he has a couple other sheds on the property, 2 that don't show up on the auditor's page. So I look at this proposed garage too, as like my husband called it today, it's a monster garage. And it's I know almost everybody has some kind of outbuilding at Stratford, Barrington Ridge, and Fairfield, but this is way out of proportion and way out of character to the other outbuildings in the neighborhood. So I have a huge issue and worry about stormwater and drainage. Those properties tend to be kind of wet in the back, covering almost 1,800 square feet with a building. I think will lead to a lot of stormwater problems, and will likely have, the Skillman property might have standing water, and certainly my dad's at 201 Stratford will end up with standing water. I remember growing up here, we had Mosquitoes were a big issue, so we were, worry a lot about standing water. In addition, a lot of the Skillman property is covered with other things. And so, where's the rainwater going to go? There's the additional sheds, there's above ground swimming pool, the recent home alterations, and there's 2 regularly parked host trailers up in the driveway and up a little extended driveway up by the house. So to me, that's just a lot of ground that's covered, and where's the water going to go? So I do have a request that if there's a further request for a variance, and I don't know how your building permits are worked on here, but I ask that he respect the Painesville Township zoning code, limit his new garage to the size that he's permitted to have. I really think he needs to get a professional survey so we know exactly where this property is going, or this structure, especially because it is so significantly large. I would like to see professional guidance on the storm water and the drainage situation, because I know he said today when we talked to him today, he's going to construct a drainage, remediation of the stormwater issue himself. But I feel like this is maybe too complex of an issue for somebody who's not a professional at this. When he and I talked on the phone Friday night, he said he was going to build with a 20-foot step back from our property line. Today he said 14 feet. I don't know, the 20-foot sounded good to me, so I threw this in here as a request as well. I also recognize that this is a very unique request. This is a very, very large building, and his property is very unique too, with a lot of hobbies, a lot of things out there. I do think it would be worthy of a site visit by who's ever making this decision. And you're welcome to park in my dad's driveway and just park there and go take a look around and see for yourself how you think this fits in.
Okay.
So, that's me.
All right. Thank you. Any questions?
I did do a little comparison chart on the back too. That I just did the square footage, which I know you don't calculate the outbuilding permitted size by the home total square footage, but just to show a comparison, the Skillman proposed garage, without even considering the other outbuildings, takes his outbuilding square footage to a little more than half the size of the whole house, everything considered. So.
Okay.
Okay.
The application, I appreciate your diligence and everything you did with all the math. We're looking at, he would be allowed 900 square foot of total outbuildings, and he's asking for 1,928, which is a little over 100%. I don't know.
Okay. Well, yeah. Well, I looked at, he only would have 612 square feet that he could build because he already has an outbuilding of almost 300. I thought the total outbuilding square footage was 900.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm just looking at what we have here. The property would be 1,928 square foot. I don't know if we looked at that the existing outbuilding, because it's 1,728 plus 200 is
Yeah.
the 1,928.
Yes, with, I did exclude the smaller, 200, or not 200, 88 square foot.
That one way in the back.
Yeah, the one that's going to be removed, I did exclude that from the calculations, understanding that that would be removed as part of the conditions of the variance being approved, because that's how it was submitted.
Okay, your
Okay.
comments are greatly appreciated. Anyone else to speak against? Any questions from the board?
I have a question. The horse trailers, are those gonna be planned to be housed in the building?
Not one, there's only one horse trailer. Okay, so what, you can set that up.
Sure.
There's only one horse trailer. There is a enclosed car trailer there, okay? So part of what I'm looking to do is to be able to put the trailer, at least one of the trailers in the garage as needed for repairs or whatever, not necessarily to live in the garage, because I am still, by doing that, it would take up any, if I kept it in there all the time, it would take up any workspace. It would kind of blow out, you know, the movement around and whatnot to be able to have workspace. But I do want to be able to put a trailer in there, you know, and if I need to leave it in there for a period of time, that's fine, you know. And as far as like she brought up the discussion with the water, when she asked me about that, I told her that I was in discussion with an excavator operator that does this sort of thing, and we're looking into what can be done to deal with some water drainage issues, knowing that yes, that is does get to be a soft area. That is something that we are looking into. So it's not something I'm doing as a unknowledgeable person. It is something that I am working with somebody that is an equipment operator that does this sort of thing for a living.
Okay. It's going to be my recommendation that there's too many unanswered questions here. First of all, we're looking at different designs of buildings. It's a considerable variance. One of the things we have to look at with an area variance, this is an area variance. One of the 7 points is the variance substantial. This is very substantial. And I can understand the people living next door to you on that side to see a building. I understand that you want to do some things and you have a good sized lot, but in all fairness to them, you're putting almost another house in there.
Right.
Yes, sir.
They live in Pennsylvania, they're never gonna see this building.
But from what I'm reading, they're part of the trust for that house. They own the house.
Could I answer that?
Sure.
Is it just Klein?
Can you
Well,
identify yourself?
you need to, yeah, you need to be sworn.
You wanna go up there and swear in and you can say
Who do you wanna say, answer this?
I
Or do you
mean,
want me to shut up? That's fine.
If you're,
I'm just asking you a question.
Yeah, and I'm
You're-
asking
Well,
permission.
But-
I'll speak. What would you like to know? Like,
Well,
why?
because if the house gets sold, you're never gonna see it. So for him to have his playhouse,
Okay, so first of all, my father's 97 years old. He's been living in that house since 1968.
and I understand that.
Okay, let's-
I love your father.
Okay, just wait, Chris. My dad fell and broke his hip in November, and he is rehabbing. The reason he isn't, and he's coming back home, and the reason he isn't there is because I've been a caregiver for my sister in New York who has ALS. And my other sister lives locally, and Tom knows this, I thought maybe you did too, that my other sister lives locally. She's moved in with the sister with ALS for the last 2 years. We're all spread pretty thin. So my dad's coming home, I have all the documentation to show that I'm a co-trustee and owner of 201 Stratford Road. 97 years old, my dad's strong as a horse, he's working on that hip, he's coming home. Whether that's material to this issue or not, I think it is not, but since you brought it up, thank you.
And he threatened me, is that?
no, I didn't hear that. Let's keep it
This is
civil.
my husband.
Let's keep it civil, please. If it becomes uncivil, we can close the public hearing and move
None
on.
of us knows when we're gonna be leaving our home and selling it. I mean, if we knew that,
We're living there.
yeah, so I'm there a lot, and,
Now, when you refer to your home, you're talking of the one on Stratford?
on Stratford Road, yes. Yes, we do live in Pittsburgh, but yes, I am co-trustee and owner of that house, and we have a right, and I have a right to protect that house for my dad. I'm a steward of that house and that yard, that land for my family, because it is a family trust, and I take this very a very great deal of responsibility for protecting that land.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right.
I did have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
Did you consider any other design of a smaller nature? How did you settle on this particular?
Kind of a fitment issue. I mean, I'm keeping the design. My hope is to keep the design fairly simple so that it's economical, but that it fits the bill. I'm not looking to do anything incredibly fancy with it. Like, you know, the rendering front would have the garage door and a man door, a couple windows on the one side of it. And, you know, as far as unanswered as to what, there's different variations here. Because I haven't settled on something because, well, I don't know what I'm going to end up being allowed to do. So I've not locked into anything. All these companies are been having their spring sales and everything, and I've passed on all of it, and no deposits, no nothing, because I've been waiting for this meeting to be able to go, okay, hey, look, this is what I can do. You know,
So you're saying you haven't really settled on a final size?
I mean, I've got quotes on different buildings. The buildings I've been focusing on are 36 by 48 has been kind of the main focus. I have gotten a couple quotes on 30 by 56. So a little narrower, but a little longer. But it's also a little over 1,600 square foot, so it drops a little bit of square footage. You know, but that's, like I said, I am looking to be able to, at least on occasion, be able to put one of my trailers in as needed for repairs or work or whatever, or for the winter to get it out of, so it's not sitting out in the weather. You know, zoning does permit there to be the 2 trailers on the property. I remember seeing a letter about that once before, that is a permitted thing to have. So, you know, I've got horses, I've got horse equipment and everything, and that's all part of what I'm trying to be able to store in this garage. Because I can't keep everything that we have. We have 3 horses. My daughter shows 4-H. We've got 2 minis that we do cart driving with and everything. And so I've got cart, harness, and all this other equipment for the horses that I can't keep at the barn where we board at. So, you know, I'm trying to have a place that I can put that so that it's out of the weather and not getting damaged or ruined by being out in the weather needlessly.
The reason thank you. The reason I ask is when we've had these types of variances in the past, we often look for, is there a landing point where it would make sense? And it often involves the original requester agreeing to downsize and not build such a large whatever. So it's just, that was the only reason I was wondering if you had considered
you know, I would like to stay with where we're at, if at all possible. Like I said, I've got, between my son and I, we've got 4 classic vehicles that we have, and I'm looking to be able to put them all under roof and be able to have space to work on them. You know, if I absolutely have to downsize, we can, you know, I mean, I'll open to figuring something out.
Thank you.
Okay, to the board, I would recommend that we continue this hearing and ask our applicant to come back with a downsized building somewhere, meet us partway here. I mean, you're asking for a considerable variance. You have a neighbor that's opposed to something that size. If we went ahead and granted it, we could, if I were in a court, I would say, what were you thinking when we granted something that big? The other thing I'd like to do on this continuation is come back, meet us partway, and come back with a more definite picture of what you have proposed and a little bit of a study of groundwater. Now, I don't know if that's required beforehand or after they get the permit before they build.
So if they're going to be required to do anything, that's going to be through Lake County Stormwater, because
But
the
before he
county,
would build anything, he would have to get a clearance from them, is that correct?
that I don't know the answer to, because we're a township. The county oversees all of that, and their requirements may not step into residential depending on the use of the structure. I don't know that. I can get an answer to that question. And Mr. Chairman, while I'm speaking, I just wanted to add, Mr. Skillman's property is 1.69 acres, and the minimum required acreage in the R1 district is 0.31.
Okay.
And so Mr. Skillman's property is 500 and, hold on, make some math. It's 528% larger than the minimum size lot in the R1 district, which the board has considered in the past, which would have been one of the reasons why I had recommended Mr. Skillman apply for a variance, because his lot is significantly larger than the minimum size lot, where 875 square feet would be appropriate.
Do you have another month to play with? Because what, basically, for me to grant this, I have a problem not knowing what you're gonna pick here. You know, some of these buildings look very nice, some of them look like an industrial shed. In deference to the neighbors, I wouldn't want an industrial shed put up next to me, even if we deem it, the size is okay. I would like a more, structured picture of what you're really gonna do. As far as the groundwater, I think you might wanna have to check with the county and see if that's something that you can get a study on beforehand, or if that's something that you have to do once you're giving a building permit. I would just ask, check with the county and see what their requirements are on your part. I don't think you'd wanna go start flooding your yard and everyone else's yard. 'Cause
No.
You are gonna, cover a lot of ground that could soak up water.
Right.
And I think that's just fair to you and everybody else to check that out. This is gonna be on a slab, I would assume.
Yes, the going back and forth between the two basic designs are either a steel building or a wood framed pole building, which is a wood frame with an outer metal sided. So either way, you're looking at the exterior is going to basically look the same, just depending on like colors and if you do like a wainscot, like a half type color difference or something like that as decorative. The metal buildings go with a footers and with a slab, and the pole frame, which is what he's looking at there. It's a standard pole barn. They auger a hole, put a base in the hole, drop a pole on it, fill the hole, build your building up off of that. That's your structure. Your foundation is off of your poles. Price wise, everything that I've been looking at and the companies that I've been leaning probably more towards are more of the steel framed buildings with the footers in the slab. Some of the pricing I've gotten through them, a couple of those companies has been pretty acceptable.
This is the steel?
Yes, that would be an example of the steel. And from the drawing that I did to that, the picture shows two individual doors. I'm looking to do a single door.
Man door and a double door?
Correct. I'm looking to do like an 18 by 10 main door and then a man door for it.
Okay.
Just a question on the driveway. I know there's some discussion before as far as what you can make the driveway out of. Is gravel still an option?
I don't know.
I know that's not the main driveway, but it becomes part of the main driveway. I mention it because you might want to consider how they're gonna do it and how far where you want to place it, because it's considerably expensive to put down concrete or asphalt if it's required. I don't know if it is.
Yeah, I apologize. I don't know if we had a conversation about this, and so if we did and I didn't clarify, I'm sorry, but any new gravel driveways are not permitted in the township. You are permitted to expand your driveway by 10% of its current square footage, which the area that you have is so small, you likely wouldn't be able to get all the way to your structure with a gravel driveway.
Say I would not be able to.
More than likely, I would assume not. We've had much larger gravel driveways not be able to get very far with the square footage that they're permitted. You're only permitted 10% of whatever your square footage is. So if you currently have 100 square feet, you're only permitted 10 additional square feet, which is negligible.
Right.
And so I would say that it's highly unlikely that you're going to that you have enough current square footage in order to expand it utilizing that 10% and reach the new structure.
So what you're saying is that chances are that I will have to either pave it or concrete a driveway.
Your new driveway, the extension will have to match your existing pavement. So whatever your current driveway is, it will have to match that, yes.
I take it that's something new because houses on either side of me both have gravel all the way back to their buildings.
Yeah, it's not all that new. It's been in existence since before my time here. I can't speak to what other people have done and when they did it, because I haven't researched it or looked into it. And yeah, I'm sorry, this is just some rough news for you at this meeting, I'm sure. So I apologize that we haven't had that
Yeah,
conversation.
it's quite an expense.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
It
it just seems kind of holding to a standard that others in the neighborhood haven't been. You know, that's kind of my hang up is, you know, I look at a garage on both sides of my house and gravel driveway all the way back.
I will say there is someone in your neighborhood who is currently going through our violation process and through the courts for a gravel driveway. So you're definitely not being held to a separate standard by any means. It's just.
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
So can his asphalt start at the front of his barn and just go whatever percentage he needs? Or does it have to start after the 10% of his driveway and go all the way to his barn?
I think he has, if he wants to do gravel, he's only allowed to extend it 10% of what is there now, correct?
Yes, and it has to be contiguous. So if that was the question, so the gravel expansion couldn't be 100 square feet here and then an expansion somewhere else of 10 square feet. If that was your question,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, no, it would have to be contiguous to the existing gravel surface.
Because on my barn, when I moved in, it was just two paths going through the grass to the barn. So if he put a asphalt patch in front of the barn and just had grass going from his gravel driveway to that, that's no good?
He could. He absolutely could. You don't have to have a driveway going up to the structure. We wouldn't
Okay.
require that. No, it's just
My
if you do
driveway
choose
stopped
to.
at the house and then it was gravel all the way back to my 20 by 32.
Yeah, we wouldn't require you to provide a driveway. And if you would like, we do permit pervious surface driveways, which would be like a paver system, but it is very specific in that it has to be a correctly installed paver system. It couldn't be, pavers purchased and laid down. It would have to have, the sand and the proper grading
Right.
and drainage and everything for that system. But we do permit that system as well. And that one, it doesn't have to be the same surface to promote drainage, obviously.
Right.
At any rate, it might be something you wanna look into when you're making your plans. To the building department, that makes sense. We don't
Right.
make those rules, we just work around them.
Then going back to another question, your neighbor here said that you were talking of 20 feet and you're asking for a 14-foot setback. He only is required at 10, is that correct?
5.
5. So whatever he's doing, he's within his allowed distance.
5 is really close, 10 is close for such a monster building, but
Yeah.
I
But
understand that's the law.
the zoning says he can do
Yeah,
that. So.
it'd be nice to have all the zoning apply to the whole project, not just,
I
like the
gotcha.
size as well,
Well, what's the pleasure of the board here? Do you have any other questions?
I do have one more comment perhaps for the applicant, and that is, and I'll speak for myself, I can't speak for the entire board, but when I look at consideration for such a large variance, when we hope to scale those variances back to some extent, I mean, even if you look at 156% versus 214%, that's a very big difference percentage-wise. So it's not quite the big variance, but when you look at the numbers, that takes your 36 by 48 from that to a 30 by 40. Not suggesting you have to do that, but when you think about consideration and the scale, and that gives you a net loss of 48 square feet, just to give you an idea of what that looks like if you were to scale it back. And I know for me, that would make a big difference scaling back to something like that, where you're now at 150% versus 220%. Just again, as an FYI, when you're thinking about
So
the
you're
building
you're
size.
using 30 by 40 as the example, right? Saying that would be more acceptable.
just tossing in a number to come up
Right.
with kind of a 150% as an idea, as a guesstimate, is what I'm kind of going by. I don't even know if a 30 by 40 is a pre-manufactured building. I'm not sure, but
It's, I mean, the companies will build almost whatever you want.
Sure.
Yeah, within, you know, I mean, they do have some parameters, but, you know, which was kind of part of why I also looked at, one of the things was looking at like a 30 by 56 building. It is a little smaller, a little narrower, which saves money in the trusses, because now you're not in the commercial trusses at over 30 foot.
Mm-hmm.
So that is something that I did look into, you know, and like I said, I've gotten some quotes from some companies and stuff, you know, like a 30 by 56.
And that's just meant to give you some ideas if, in fact, the board votes to continue the meeting, so.
Yeah, there's two ways we can do this. We can vote to continue this, or we can ask for a vote given the variance that you are asking for now. And I have no idea how the vote would go. If you are willing to come back with something a little more reasonable, with a little more detail on exactly what you want to build, I'm just gonna tell you, you're gonna have probably a lot better chance of getting something on your property.
Well, yeah, I mean, like I said, the reason I haven't solidified anything is because of not knowing what I was going to be
It's,
exactly allowed.
you know, again, it's a large
Mhm.
variance you're asking for. And I think you're getting the feeling from this board that it is substantial.
Mhm.
And without saying yes or no, I think you're getting the feeling from this board that we would like to see you come back with something a little more reasonable. And still be able to do what you want to do. You may not have extra space that you plan for in the future, but you are on a residential lot,
Mhm.
and you may have to give a little bit as well. I mean, there's some other buildings in your neighborhood that are very nice. You have the one that kind of a
Yeah.
barn-like building. That's a very attractive building. I can see it from where I live over off of Kingsborough. And when I come down Fairfield, I can see it through the back of the house on Fairfield. And that's a nice looking building.
And
So,
that building is 1,400 square feet, is that right?
Yeah, 20 by 72.
But also, Chris lives in a ranch house, and his square footage of his home, I mean, your home is all ranch house, right?
Yeah, it's 3,200 square feet.
So that's why, if you look at the back of my sheet, you know, he's only.
Yeah. Well, like again, the lot at 1.69 acres, we can justify, a building over what the normal person would get in Painesville Township. But 200 and, what'd you say, 200 and
I've got
Or
214.
20%
Yeah,
over?
114%.
114%. Like to see you come back with something a little more, give us a little bit here.
Okay.
Are you willing? Because we can vote to continue this and you come back next month with a little more detail of pick one out that is a little smaller and show us some pictures of it and exactly what you want to do. And then, come back with some feedback from the county on what you think the effects of stormwater would be. And that's just in fairness to you as anybody else. So the last thing you want to do is put in a big slab and have your yard flooding. Like, what's the one down on Fairfield, just before you go down and up the hill?
Oh,
Those are
Oh, that new
those are
house?
Concord, but the house, there's one in Painesville Township, there's one in Concord, and between those two, they've created a pond there.
yeah, I believe one of them is our firefighter.
I wish they would have put some kind of drainage system in my backyard. 'Cause I think there used to be a pond back there, and when it rains, I have a swimming pool.
I know, the whole area has a problem in there.
Yeah.
He lives down the street from you.
Each
okay.
house was built by a different builder and nobody came in and graded everything. So
Oh,
you
yeah,
end up
the
with this
main
house being
drainage.
built and then made it this way and the next
Yeah.
house this way.
Cause right there at Barrington and Stratford, it floods all the time.
Yeah, the main drain that goes underneath, Route 20 is too small to take on the stormwater, which has been a
Okay.
consistent issue. Yeah, and so we can't enlarge, that stormwater line right now, but the trustees are actually working on, acquiring land for an above-ground, detention basin closer to the fairgrounds that should hopefully alleviate the water that's trickling down to the neighborhood that will support us.
I think I heard something about that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? does someone wanna make a motion to continue this, assuming that our applicant will come back with something and a little bit less square footage?
I'll make a motion to continue BZA case 2024-0007.
I'll second.
All right, the motion's been made and seconded to continue this till next meeting.
Okay, Randy,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Dave and Zara,
Yes,
Dale,
Yes,
and Chairman.
Yes. Okay, if you wanna stick around after, we'll kind of ask you what we're looking for, a little more detail. So that actually closes the public hearing. People here are free to go. We appreciate your coming and your concern. Do I have make a motion to close the public hearing right now?
So moved?
I'll second.
Hey, Dale,
yes,
Randy,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Dave and Zara,
Yes.
and Chairman.
Yes. Okay, with that, we're gonna open our regular meeting. Does anybody have any objection to the minutes as submitted from our meeting on April 16th? Okay, if there's no objection, let's let the minutes be entered as submitted. Any old business? New business? Anything?
No,
Madam
I have
Zoning
nothing.
Inspector?
No, I have nothing.
did you need these?
Okay, so the next meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, June 11th. We know we will have this case on there. We'll see if there's anything else. Okay?
Take that one as well?
With that, do I have a motion to close the regular meeting?
So moved.
Oh, who moved?
Me.
I'll second.
Okay, Dale,
Yes,
Randy,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Dave and Zara,
Yes.
and Chairman.
Yes. Okay, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.